All right, here we go. So, we are back with another episode of Biz from the Inside Out. And it's sponsored by Project Impact. This is for entrepreneurs looking to impact the world in a more positive way. That is what Project Impact is all about. And today we have Ellie Burscough joining me in the studio, right? Makeshift studio, aka the bedroom. And she's going to talk to us all about how to take our business from six figures all the way up to seven. I say all the way up because it could actually be simpler than we might think. And I've just noticed Ellie's on. Hopefully she's on a device. That was the thing that we didn't mention before we came on. Is Ellie, if you're listening, then in order to come on with the camera, you need to be on a mobile device or an iPad or something of that nature. Alright, so hopefully things can shift. Hi Diane, good to see you. Well, good to read you, as they say. It's comments after all. So yeah, very, very huge episode today. Because we're talking about scaling, we're talking about growing our business into the millionaire mark. All right, that is what we are going to talk about, and go into it. And Ellie is going to be the person to dive in to everything else. All right, so when she comes on, give her a big hey, let her know that she's here, and here we go. Ooh. It's not letting me on. Wow, there we go.
Here I am.
Hi, Ellie, you okay?
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, doing really well, really good.
It's very zoomed in.
Yeah, it does do that when the split screen comes up for some bizarre reason. It zooms in
Yeah.
on everybody. So, all right. So, if you have any questions for Ellie, drop them in the comments. If you're watching the replay, which is after we've aired the show, then make sure you tag us in the questions because you never know, we might miss them. And tagging us makes sure we do get notifications. So I'm sure Ellie will be more than happy to answer any questions that we have. But before we do that, share with us a bit about yourself, Ellie. What sort of got you into this idea, and what was your journey from helping businesses to them realizing you could help people in a more powerful way?
Yeah, so I started out in business 8.5 years ago. And when I started out, I was a personal trainer. So
Oh,
I lost 29 kilos in 7 months after I had my daughter. Don't know what that is in pounds. But um, because of that journey, I wanted to help other mums lose their baby weight as well. And everything I found out there, you had to push your baby in a pram, and you couldn't get an hour out to yourself. So I found a gap in the market, and I started mums boot camps with babysitting included. And I ended up investing in a mentor early on, and I took my business to multi six figures within 18 months.
wow.
And then I ended up fully systemizing that business whilst I was pregnant with my second child. And I sold it. And then I started a new business. And when I started that new business, it was because I saw a lot of other people, a lot of other business owners struggling. They were working crazy hours and they weren't making as much money as I was. And I wanted to be able to help them. So I started business coaching 6.5 years ago. And I stepped into a mixture of not only strategy, but mindset as well. So helping people overcome their limiting beliefs, clearing up any emotional and abundance blocks that were stopping them to actually being able to take action and put the strategy in place and reach their goals. So I do a mixture of the strategy and the mindset, and grown this business again to multi six figures, and I've helped other people go to multi six and seven figures themselves.
But so just out of curiosity, what led you to sell the personal training business? Because that does seem like something a lot of people would want. Was it just because you wanted to move on? Was it just like the time for you to move, or was it something else?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I kind of got over it. I loved it. It was my baby. I really loved it. There were some amazing clients, but there was a lot of negative stuff going on as well. There
Mm,
were clients threatening to sue me over like $100 just because they hadn't put their cancellation notice in and they were trying to get money back. No one ever ended up following that through because
no.
it was silly, but it's stressful, when that first
Yeah.
happens. I had trainers stealing clients off me. I had people copying off me. Um, I had a lot of drama and a lot of people making excuses like I can't come to class because I lost my socks and just weird stuff. And I was really, really sick in my second pregnancy.
Mm,
I'd already stepped into mindset coaching, so I was helping people not only lose weight but overcome emotional eating,
yeah.
put themselves first, build their self-worth, and I really wanted to do more of that. And then because of that, because of me seeing a lot of other trainers struggling and things like that, I wanted to start helping them. So I started off with the business coaching in the health and fitness industry and then expanded to other industries from there. And you know what? I still, even after selling that business, I still stayed in the health and fitness industry for a little while. So I had two businesses for a while.
Right.
And not many people know that. I couldn't fully get rid of it because I did still love the industry.
Yeah.
But then one day I sat down and I looked at the numbers and I was like, I'm driving really far to get to all these classes for a few people just because I love them and I didn't want to run big boot camps anymore. And I did the numbers and worked out how much time I was spending in that business, how much money I was making from it, and then how much time and how much money I was making from the what's it called, the business coaching. And
Right.
sorry, I just had a thing pop up on my phone, so I got rid of it.
That's okay.
Um, and I looked, the numbers don't lie. I always tell my clients, take the emotion out of it and look at it logistically, look at the numbers. And when I saw that on paper, I was like, I've got to stop doing this.
Mm,
And I was making so much more money from business coaching, working way less hours, and it was something I enjoyed more. I could do from home or I could do anywhere around the world. And that's when I finally completely gave up the health and fitness industry.
right. So I mean,
Mm,
did it come about from the demand then? Because a lot of people like myself probably a prep example really. Like I've helped people since I was about 16. So
mm,
like that seemed better. Like we were talking about beforehand that you help people get to seven figures, but that's not something that you've actually done yourself at the moment.
mm.
So mine's
Yeah,
kind of the same sort of way, is that I help people become better than I am,
yeah,
which is a very interesting thought, right? So for me, it was tennis, then it was fitness, then I got
mm,
into the more kind of helping personal trainers and mentoring them, and then I got into like mindset and business similar to yourself. But my whole thing was never, okay, I'm going to be a millionaire before I decide to help people,
yeah,
or I want
yeah,
to be like, there was no element like, well, why wait? You know what I mean? It was kind of
yeah,
like,
yeah,
what sort of what function does it have to like make sure I do it and then leave? Because
yeah,
although you do like rub off people a little bit, like successful people do mingle with other successful people, and I sort of get that. But there's no
yeah,
element of, okay, well, if you're struggling, then like you can still get help from those people. That it's almost like there's too much of a disconnect. You know what I mean? So you can't really work in that way. So
yeah,
my whole thing was help them at the same time. That was my
yeah,
sort of feel with it. So the more successful I become, the more successful my clients are at the same time. But then there are people
yeah,
that like they only get help from people that have done it at the same time.
yeah.
So how do
And
you sort of
yeah,
balance that between your own success and
hmm
then helping others at the same time? Because it's not just about ourselves; it's about the perception that the other people get. So before we
yeah,
sort of dive into the more businessy side of things, how do you balance that out?
yeah. Well, it's a great topic because it's such a debate, you know, and
It
a lot
is.
of people are like, well, I believe that you should practice what you preach, but that doesn't mean you have to get that exact result. So at
Mm,
the most, my business has done $55,000 a month. So it's not too far off, you know.
mm,
Um, but when I started business coaching, I made sure that I had at least made six figures. I'd actually made multi six figures. That I had created a business that was fully automated and systemized because I did that so I could, well, not so I could sell it, but that's what ended up happening, but so I could
mm-hmm,
take time off with my baby when I had my second child. And a business that had 10 team members as well. So I'm not going to teach someone how to scale a business, automate a business, grow team, get six figures if I haven't done it myself. I thought that was a
mm,
real foundation piece that I needed to have. Now, I don't go out saying, hey, I'm the seven figure coach, or I've made seven figures, or I'm going to help you to get to seven figures. Although, you know, you kind of used a bit of that in the title of
I
this,
did, yeah.
but I have helped people get to seven figures. And I've also worked with people that are already at seven figures and helped them with other areas of their life as well. For example, I've worked with someone who was making 5 million US already a year, and I helped with his next phase of what he was about to step into, and also with purpose and clarity and emotional clearing work, him and his wife. I
Yeah.
helped someone else go from $7,000 a month to over $80,000 a month. So I've helped to, and another client had £100,000 week a couple of weeks ago. So that's just a few examples. And so it's like, I think people have to be really clear in saying, like, don't say, I've made seven figures if you haven't,
Mm-hmm.
but we can use the example of sports coaches. You know, if someone is a sports coach and they're helping a team get to the Super Bowl, or they're helping someone get to the Olympics, they don't have to have
Yeah.
played in the Super Bowl or gone to the Olympics to be able to teach that person how to get faster or get stronger or get better or be able to win in the Olympics or the
Makes
Super
sense.
Bowl, you know? Yeah, so it's a mixture of the strategy and the mindset, and it's walking your talk, whatever that looks like to you. And I believe that as coaches and trainers, we need to continually be working on ourselves and be continually growing. Because I've had times in my life where I don't feel like I'm growing enough, and I'm not going to be able to be the best coach that I could possibly be. And so I notice that very quickly, and I notice the areas where I want to improve, and I go deeper on those areas. I invest in mentors myself. I read books, I listen to podcasts, watch videos. I do a lot of research, and I do the inner work as well with meditation, journaling, mindset work, emotional clearing. I'm always learning and growing, and I'm implementing it and embodying it in my life.
Yeah, I think the sport coaching analogy, although how can I put it? Although like people have been using that analogy for a long time, like but
Mm,
even when I was tennis coaching when I was about 16, it was
yeah.
always there. The analogy's always been there, and I think
Mm,
part of the issue for me is that, as you say, it depends on who you're working with. So, like, even like Roger Federer has a tennis coach, as
mm,
they say, right? And I
mm,
think it depends on the person as well. Like, if you're already doing really well and you're, it's more about like what has the coach done that can help me. So like a lot of coaches are specialists and that's what works, right? Like it works in that way. But
yeah.
I think it depends on the person as well. I think it's more about the client versus the coach. Like if the
Yeah.
client's not going to hire you unless you're a self-made multimillionaire, then you either work with that person or you don't. Like it tends to be down to the client more often than not. And I think that's kind of that's my stance on it because I've had
Yeah.
people not work with me because I've got cramp in my foot. Oh, oh, oh that's gonna hurt for about 20 minutes. I'll have to keep pressure on that, otherwise that's gonna collapse on me halfway through the video. Oh, it really hurts. Ah, only when I go live. Never happens any other time. I'll have to change
I,
my position a little minute, I think. All right.
I think with what you're saying as well, it's like you have to practice what you preach, and you have to have some level of success. And it's like I always say to my clients and potential clients, the best way to find a mentor is to find someone who has done what you want to do, in a way that matches your morals and your values. And they've done it in a way that fits the lifestyle that you want as well. So there's no point having a mentor who, say that you have a family, you have kids, and you want to be present with them, and you want to be able to step away from the business to spend time with your family, and you love travel, and you want an online business. So then finding a
Yeah.
mentor who has a bricks and mortar business, who is working crazy hours, who doesn't have any children and never travels, is not going to be the right mentor. So you want to
Okay.
find someone who's done what you want to do in a similar way, and that matches the kind of philosophy, lifestyle, and goals that you want to achieve as well.
Yeah, I like that. So it's almost like less about like what they've done, but also like what they're living like, what their lifestyle's like,
How they've
and
done it and what their
yeah,
home life
yeah,
looks
how
like.
they've done it. Yeah, because it's almost like if
Yeah,
if you're near burnout and you're a billionaire, if you want to do that as well, happy days. But if
yeah,
you want to do it in a different way, like a billionaire doing something different, we're
mm,
operating in a different way, then that's the person you go to. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I just thought it's worth touching on because people do get an impression, don't they? They have this impression or perception of people, in particular people that help others as well. I find
mm,
that people do have a certain way about them. If someone says you're a coach, it's like, all right, okay, yeah, if you can't do, teach. That all that those kind of sayings and things that get on my nerves as well. To be honest, Ellie, you probably
mm.
feel the same way. Um, so what?
I don't really pay attention, or to be honest, I probably used to,
Love that.
but I think, and some people have this thing around, oh, I don't like the word coach, I want to use whatever. And it's like, it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter, because
No.
it's like you want a word that people associate with. So if you
Yeah.
call yourself a transformational specialist or something, it's like, what's that? It just sounds a bit wanky.
Yeah.
So it's like, have a word that people actually resonate with, because it's not about the word
Yeah.
anyway. It's about speaking to someone and where they're at, and showing them that you can help them with the challenges that they're facing, and to be able to reach the goals
Exactly.
and outcomes that they have. So I think people can get caught up on words, or on what other people are saying. And it's like, even I do it from time to time when sometimes I might be chilling out, but scrolling through Facebook, and it's not really chilling out, right? And I
Yeah.
notice
Of
myself
course.
either judging myself or judging others, especially if I'm having a day where I'm tired or busy or whatever.
Yeah.
And I can start to notice a bit of negativity, or like, oh, this person's doing well, or getting annoyed at things. And I notice myself doing that, and I take away. And I don't do it very often anymore, but when I do, I'm like, okay, well, what's going on in my head and in my life to be feeling like this right now? And so I stop
Yeah.
scrolling, I step away, and I either properly chill out, or I go and focus on something else. So whether it's
Yeah.
work,
I like
or
that.
spending time with friends, or getting out in the sun, or whatever, it's really having that awareness around, what you're noticing. On the other side of that,
Mm.
I've noticed everything's been happening for me and showing up for me lately. I might be talking about branding, or about to talk about branding with my assistant, and then something pops up on Facebook about branding, where my friend gave a whole folder in her Google Drive of all her branding stuff. And I was like, I was just
Right.
about to talk to my assistant about that.
Yeah.
Or something could pop up where I'm like, I want to run a retreat soon, and someone pops up in my feed where there's a mystery school here in Portugal in a few weeks' time. And I connected with her. I went and met up with her in a beautiful mansion in the hills last week. And now I'm facilitating part of this mystery school in Portugal in a few weeks' time, where I get
Oh,
to
awesome.
do ceremony and ritual, and help people to let go of things so that they can live their best life, and have a successful business. And it's like all the things I've been talking about. I read the description. I was like, oh, this is everything I've been talking about. And
Love
now
it.
I've got a spot to facilitate that. So yeah, everything's just popping up for me, and I'm noticing when those things are negative or when they're positive or when there's a pattern with things.
Yeah.
It leaves clues.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just before we dive into the other things as well, I saw that you've been chilling out with Arnie as well. Is that right?
Yeah, he's here right now.
Oh,
He
awesome.
leaves tomorrow, so I told him to come over and hang out in the Airbnb that I'm at the moment. So he's been here for 2 weeks, and
Awesome.
yeah, we've been having great chats, and it's really cool to be hanging out with someone who is, making good money, same as me, and
Yeah.
and I say making good money because sometimes you hang out with people who are maybe digital nomads or whatever, and it's cool to do things that are free or whatever, but it's nice to hang out with someone where money's not an issue. And that doesn't mean that we're
Yeah.
blowing money or whatever. But if you need to jump in an Uber or something, it's not an issue. Or you want to go
Not
out
an
for
issue.
dinner
Yeah,
every
yeah,
night,
yeah.
it's not an issue. And then apart from that, it's the mindset and the lifestyle. We're having great chats. We're both getting a lot of work done, and then we hang out at night or in the weekends or take a break together during the day. And it's really cool to hang out with someone who's like-minded. So yeah, had him here for 2 weeks, and then my assistant's just flown back to Portugal. So we've
Oh,
actually
cool.
been able to work face to face for the first time ever. And
That's nice.
she's been here the last 3 days as well. So that's been really cool. Kind of
Yeah,
created our
yeah,
own little
cool.
co-working space here.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Arnie's really cool, actually. I've been following him for a while since when his Facebook group was about his podcast before he
Yeah,
rebranded
cool,
everything. So
cool.
that's been going for a while. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
Diane's actually asked. I don't know whether she's asking me or asking you. So we'll probably take it in turns. Are you doing
Yeah.
firewalking? She says. She's asked, are we doing firewalking? Bit of a strange
Fireworking.
one. Yeah, it's a bit of a I don't know. I read it and I was like, is she asking me? Or is she asking?
uh,
I don't know.
I think maybe
Is
it was a mystery
firewalking your
to
thing?
you. No, I've never done it, and I don't take people through it. I've done board breaks before, which is a really cool mindset thing. I've also done one where I put an arrow on my neck. It didn't have a sharp edge. An
Ooh.
arrow on this little bit here, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
kind of have to step into it, and it breaks. Um, I did a board break at an event in Sydney, Australia, and I also did one on Necker Island, Richard Branson's island.
Yeah.
And I've also done other things to really overcome fears. Like I used to have a really big fear of heights.
Mm.
And so I started doing zip lines all around the world. And now I
As you
love
do,
them.
yeah.
And yeah, I'm probably still scared of things like skydiving or whatever, but I always try and push my comfort zone. And if
Yeah.
something pops in my head where I'm like, oh, that's scary or that's uncomfortable, it's like, oh, damn, now I have to do it, you know? And I was actually talking to my
I
assistant
love that.
today where I've just hired a full-time videographer and photographer, and we're going to do a series for YouTube where
Oh,
I'm gonna
cool.
meet up with people, and I'm gonna interview one person per episode, and we're gonna talk about who they are, where they're from, what their business is, and what their greatest fear is, and then we're gonna go and help them overcome that fear and create a video series around
Wow.
it. Yeah, so I'm really
That
excited
sounds
about that.
awesome, actually. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Sounds like a really good idea, actually.
Yeah.
I think with it, like, there's a really big because I used to help people around fears as well, and
Mm,
it feel because my whole thing was that you can only stay in your mind for so long before you've actually got to physically overcome something to a certain degree. Like there's
mm,
only so far you can take it before you go, look, you've done all the journaling, you've figured it out, you know what's going on, you understand it all, you've broken it all down, but you got to do something with it. You can't.
yeah,
There's no point
yeah,
in doing all that if
yeah,
you sit in your bedroom and you feel this inside your own head, but you've not done anything. So it doesn't
yeah,
really. It's almost like having a very very sharp sword, but you don't do anything with it. It seems a bit.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it's almost like waste of time almost. Like why spend all that time doing that all that work and all that, breaking the fears down and all those things, if you don't take it and go, right, let's do something with this,
Yeah, exactly. So it's like when you do emotional clearing, when you're clearing emotions or limiting beliefs and things like that, a lot of people can get stuck in just keeping doing that. But if you're then not taking the action, you're not going to get the result. So it's
No.
like do the mindset work, let go of the things that are holding you back, and then take action to be able to reach your goal or get a result. And I believe as well, I always say confidence builds with action. So the opposite of that is fear, overwhelm, anxiety, worry, and like all of that actually gets worse in our head if we're just sitting here thinking about it. We build it up and
Yeah.
up and up to make it this big thing that it's not. But then when you actually then take the action, you build confidence. And the more
Yeah.
action you take and the more consistently, the more confident you're going to get, the better you're going to get at it. And then it's not going to be scary anymore. There's also a really good quote in the book The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, where
Mm.
he says, fear is excitement without the breath.
I like that.
And it's like fear and excitement come from the same place. You just
Yeah.
need to breathe and slow down. And then the fear turns into excitement. And, anything that is worthy to you, that is big enough to you, you're going to be a bit scared because you're stepping outside of your comfort zone and it's important to you. If it's something that you're not scared of, you're not playing a big enough game. It's not something that's hard or uncomfortable, or it's just doesn't mean that much to you. So it's great. And it's like, instead of feeling scared and paralyzed and not doing it, it's reframing it and noticing, actually, I'm scared about this. So it means that I'm about to grow. On the other side of this fear is growth.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to approach that with curiosity and excitement.
Yeah, and I'm actually I've actually lost count of how many times I've listened to this book now. Um, Brendan Burchard's High Performance Habits, and he talks about the confidence competence loop, whereby the more competent you are at it, the more confident you're going to be, which means you're going to do the work to be more competent at it, which then means, well,
Yeah.
of course you're going to be more confident, and then you're going to feed each other, don't they? And he also says, when you do knock at the door of growth, don't be surprised if hard work answers. And I think people do have this because I think a big part of it is the fact the way we were marketing years ago. Like why like
Mm,
no one was interested in the journey as much.
mm,
Before social media and before you were able to see the journey of a lot of us now. I spend a lot of my time doing next to nothing, sending emails and messages and videos, and my life's not all that exciting. It's not fabulous by any means. I'm not around the world speaking or whatever it is, but that's
mm,
what people see. That's the way it works. I mean, it does take
mm.
work to get anywhere, and I think there were years before, like, there were cameras everywhere, i.e., phones everywhere, and you could see everything, and people were posting absolutely everything that they did. People only
Mm.
posted when things good happened. So
Yeah.
I,
I
I, I
think it's
think
great
people
for
have
seeing both.
this.
Mm.
Yeah, it's almost like they have this. Like, it's almost surprising now when people posting they're having a bad day, or like, oh, I don't feel like I'm going to do this now. This is outrageous. But
Mm.
people aren't used to it yet. I think, fortunately, I follow and I'm friends with people like yourself, Ellie, and Arnie, and a couple of others that do share, like, okay, I'm having a crap day today, so therefore curl up day it is, bed day, Netflix and chill, all that kind of stuff, because you're just having a bad
Yeah.
day. And then you have days when it's like, you know what, I'm going to, where was it, Portugal? I'm going to Portugal to chill
Yeah.
out in a mansion and talk to people about life and improving everything, and that's part of the journey, though. Like, it's not traveling the world speaking and rocking the world every day, because there are very, very,
But
very, very,
even
very few people that can do that.
but even in the traveling, I've traveled a lot over the last probably 6 years or so. The year before last, I went to 14 countries in 14 months. Last year, the last year, or yeah, just over a year, I've been living between Portugal and Australia, and I've been to other countries as well. I ran a retreat last year in Bali and in Fiji, the year before in Hawaii, the year before in Thailand. So I went to Richard Branson's island and got to spend 5 days with him and a group of entrepreneurs. I spoke at Virgin in Singapore. I've done some amazing, amazing things. But on the other side of that, I also separated from my 9-year relationship last year. Last year was one of the toughest years of my life. I had to be away from my kids for 3.5 months recently. I've had panic attacks and anxiety and felt depressed, like not clinical depression and anxiety, but felt anxious and depressed at times. I've had so many ups and downs. I've had big, really big months of $55,000 and then much smaller months as well. So I've had, so many ups and downs, and I share very vulnerably, and I share the wins and the challenges, which I think is important.
Yeah.
But even in the good stuff, even in the traveling all around the world, to get to Necker Island, my visa was denied the day before I was supposed to leave. Within an hour, I was on a different flight. I was supposed to go back to Brisbane in Australia. I was in Sydney at the time, and go and see my kids before I went away and pack my stuff. I had to leave Sydney, and within an hour I was on a plane. So I had a small suitcase, like just carry on, of dirty clothes from the week I'd been in Sydney. Didn't get to go home and see my kids. And because I couldn't go through Puerto Rico because it's US controlled, I had to fly 40 hours all the way around the world, like literally did a whole loop just to get to Necker Island.
About to come from
And
the
I
other
was
side.
literally, from Sydney to Singapore, Singapore to London, London through the Caribbean and to the
Oh,
British Virgin Islands.
no
I
way.
was hallucinating by the time I got to the Caribbean.
Oh, I don't
And
blame you.
but the thing in my head was, I'm going no matter what. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm going to make it happen no matter what. And I was on a live stream leaving the embassy when my visa was denied, crying, saying like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go there. Like, watch me, follow me, and I'll figure this out. And I ended up paying about $8,000 for flights, and about $40,000 for the whole trip. But I made it happen. And for me, it really brought home this determination of, okay, if something knocks you down and you really want to do it, find a way to make it work no matter what.
Definitely.
And then secondly, it also taught me the importance of cash flow. If I didn't have that money in my bank account to pay for the extra flights and all the rest of it, that would have been the end of it. I wouldn't have been able to go. And that was an amazing, amazing opportunity that I could do because of my mindset and because of my cash flow and how I'd grown my business as well.
Yeah, it seems like the coincided, doesn't it? Like if you've got the mindset of do whatever it takes, but then you literally don't have the resources to sort of act on that mindset, and it doesn't matter how much it's almost like it makes it worse, doesn't it? Like if you're like, okay, whatever it takes, it's like, well, whatever it takes is dependent on what you've got to put to the situation. If you're struggling, and then it kind of becomes like whatever it takes is still like, I can't really go. So it just depends, as you said, it's the importance of cash flow as well.
Yeah, and the whatever it takes in that situation might have meant that I couldn't make it, or maybe it meant I would have had to get other resources. Maybe I would have had to try and borrow money from people. I don't know. There's still always a way. Maybe it meant I wasn't able to go in that time, but maybe I found another opportunity to go a year later. Sometimes I think when we don't have the resources, we either have to find another way or it might just take a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I think, if people are watching or listening, and hopefully they're picking up on the subtleties, by the way, because although I've not turned around to you and said, okay, what is the difference between a 6 and 7 figure entrepreneur? I think in the stories that we're sharing and in the, the little things that we're sharing, it's becoming quite clear that just to get to the level that you're at. Never mind, you help people push past the level that you're at. So
Yeah.
it is having that sense. Okay, well, if this is what Ellie's like, then surely it will take more of the same, so to speak. So this element of doing whatever it takes, this element of having the life that you want as well. Like if earning six figures would ruin every other aspect of your life, but earning half that
Mm,
would mean that you could have a bit more freedom and a bit more spare time, then what are
mm.
you striving for six figures for? Like, it makes no sense. Like, if you're going to
Yeah.
ruin yourself to
Yeah.
achieve something that you think that you want, because, like, for instance, I've recently moved to a paradise island, right? I'm currently in Gran Canaria, which is reasonably close to yourself, Portugal. Now, a lot of
Yeah.
people will be like, "Oh, I'd love to do that. I'm very jealous that you're moving." People from the UK are like, "Oh, I can't believe you're going," which is
Yeah.
fine. It's great, but the problem is what people don't seem to realize is that, like, you're the same person no matter what level that you're at. You're still you, with the same insecurities, with the same fears, with the same lifestyle or whatever it is. And just because you're living somewhere, I'm like about what, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes walk from a beach now, and people are like,
Yeah.
oh, it must be amazing. Well, no, because you've got to work still. Like, it doesn't change the fact that you've got to still grow your business. Like,
Yeah.
people, I think people have this idea that once they achieve their thing, like, it stops. I think people
Yeah.
have this idea, oh, when I get this thing, like, you still got to maintain it though. You still got to keep up the lifestyle that you're having.
Yeah.
So, it becomes very, I wouldn't say hollow, the wrong way of putting it. It becomes very like everything's a stepping stone. There's
Yeah.
no, like, the thing that you think's a mountain is probably just a stepping stone in disguise. So you get to the top of the mountain and go, oh, it's really a stepping stone to this thing over here, or this
Yeah.
thing
There's,
over here.
there's always, there's always more, and it's a really cool topic. Like, as you're talking, I'm thinking about a few things around that. It's like, first of all, when a lot of people do this kind of inner journey, this work on themselves, and mindset work, you can have things pop up and you can think, oh, I thought I let go of that already. And it's
Yeah,
like, well, yeah, you did let go of it. But anytime that you step up, anytime you are moving through a new comfort zone, anytime you're doing something, setting another big goal, your stuff's going to come up again. And it's about going deeper. It's not that you haven't dealt with it, it's about going deeper. And it's the
yeah,
same with goals. It's like, oh, well, my goal was to make 100,000, then it was to make 500,000, then it was to make whatever. If we're looking at monetary things, that's not the end goal, because it's not really about the money. And when you have your basic needs met, when your bills are paid, when you're putting money in savings, when you have everything you need, then you realize that it's much more than that. And, at the start of last year, when I was making $50,000 a month, but my heart was racing at night and I was crying for no reason. And I realized I wasn't happy living in my big dream house that, was worth 2.4 million. It was like the house and the possessions and the designer dresses and the personal chef and the $50,000 a month didn't mean anything if I wasn't happy. And there were
yeah,
times last year where I felt really down and really depressed, and I was in a beautiful house, and in a beautiful country or whatever. And I was like, why am I feeling like this? And then there were other times where I wasn't in a place that was as nice, or, it didn't look as perfect on the outside, but I was really content and happy. And I realized that, especially, like, I've been living in Airbnbs for a year,
yeah,
and I realized through this whole journey that home isn't a physical location,
nope,
and happiness isn't external. That happiness and that home and that connection comes from within. And so
yeah.
I can be anywhere in the world and I can have anything going on outside of me, and I can be happy if I'm happy within myself.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast with it was Lewis House's podcast with Mark Manson.
Mm.
He's bringing a new book out with Will Smith. So I thought, oh, you never know, I'll figure it out. Might get some information on it, and I've listened to it
Mm.
3 times, and every time I was able to concentrate on it. You know, when people listen to podcasts and they're doing other things at the same time, I couldn't. It was like I'm just so intrigued by this guy, just because of the way he
Mm.
communicates it, because he's a blogger as well. So he
Yeah.
speaks like normal people, rather than trying to like use dead long words to explain stuff. And he said like achieving a goal is the same as getting rid of it. Like achieving a goal is the
Mm.
same as removing it. So
Mm.
like once you've achieved it, that's it. And then what's
Mm.
next? And it was funny
Mm.
because he actually spoke about sitting on the couch playing Zelda all day, and because he written the subtle art of not giving a fuck, right? That was his
Mm.
book,
Mm.
and it was
Yeah.
like 6 million copies sold. Like he doesn't really have to do much anymore, you know. But it's like, well, it's achieved this thing, and it's gone. Like it melts away when you achieve it. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
There's no sense of oh yeah, that. Well, no, it's gone. Like it melts. There's no. You can be as grateful as you want. You can pretend to be happy if you want, but what's next? Like it doesn't have the hold over you that it used to do, and only
Yeah.
only people that actually achieve anything know that and understand that. And it was like,
Yeah.
whoa, achieving is the same thing as getting rid of it. And you know,
Mm.
he talks about like 6 months of playing Zelda all day, and it's like he says,
Yeah.
I'm not hating Zelda, by the way. Zelda's a cool game, and it was like, yeah, no, we get it, right? You're not bashing Zelda, you know, you're just explaining what the
Yeah.
situation is. And I think that
Yeah.
the problem that I think, particularly people that are like striving for things and trying to achieve things, is like the that's the part that they actually want to do. That's what
Mm.
they actually like doing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Gary Vee saying that the day he buys the Jets is the worst day of his life because
Yeah.
that's his life's ambition. But when he achieves it, it's
Yeah.
like, huh, what's next?
It's about
And
it's about the journey, not the goal. And it sounds
yeah,
corny, but
definitely.
it's true. And the thing is, so I remember when I first hit my first 10K month, and when I started making 10K a month consistently. I think it was, I don't even know. It might have been around 2012 or something. I can't remember now. But I'd been trying to hit that for quite a while. And then I remember when I did it first in business coaching in my second business then. And I remember being stuck on that for about 6 months because my why when I started out was to create a better life for myself and my family, because I was living on welfare and I didn't have any money. My partner at the time, he was on a tourist visa and he couldn't work, and and yeah, it was like a struggle. We were in a really bad position, so that was my why in starting my business. And then when I hit 10K a month, it was like that wasn't my why anymore. But I kept telling myself, I want to create a better life for myself and my family. And my why had to change to be able to push past the 10K a month. And I realized that. And when I was stuck on 10K for 6 months, when I changed that why, I hit 20K within a month. I went from 10 to 20K in 1 month, literally from changing that why, having that shift in perspective. And that it, my why changed from I want to create a better life for myself and my family to I want to feel fulfilled. And
Yeah,
fulfillment to me meant not procrastinating on Facebook, not wasting time, not watching YouTube videos during the day. It meant being focused. It meant reaching out to more people. It meant getting on interviews and speaking and putting valuable content out there and getting on sales calls, and running retreats and doing things that scared me and stepped out of my comfort zone. And when I did that, oh, and offering higher end packages as well. So when I started doing that, I literally doubled my income within a month. So I think that's so important to notice what our why is, notice our purpose, and really be focused on that and knowing that it shifts over time as well.
yeah. I think holding on to something's probably doing more harm than good. I mean,
Mm.
I guess a big part of this is understanding that in order to push through what our comfort zone is, there's got to be an element of like it has to no longer become something you're prepared to accept. Like until when you push past the better life for you and your family to being fulfilled, I mean, it feels bigger. Do you know what I mean? Like it feels something that requires, like the actions that you took to get to 10K a month was achieving that, right? It was doing the job, but it wasn't going to do the job of the fulfilled side of things. So
Exactly.
I feel like I feel like it requires different types of people, doesn't it? When you boil it all down, it requires a different person to go from say your 10K month, your 6 figures, to your 7 figures.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I did want to talk about that. It's a really good point. It's to go from zero, like start up, to 6 figures. It's all about, you got to learn about yourself. Business is the greatest personal development journey you'll ever go on. There's 3 areas of your life where you really learn a lot about yourself: business, having children, and relationships. And I think with business, it's like when you start out, you've got to learn about yourself. You've got to be clear on your identity, who you are. You've got to work on your mindset. You've got to let go of any of the limiting beliefs and things that are holding you back. Because the more you know about yourself, the more you're going to know about your ideal clients, because your ideal clients are just like you. They're just a couple of steps behind. You've been further along the journey than they have, and that's why you can help them. So you got to get super clear on who you are and do all that mindset work. Then you got to learn about business and put the foundations in place. You got to learn about marketing and start to get some consistent leads coming through. Build your presence as well with valuable content, following, and all of that. And then do some consistent sales. And so that's what's required to get to 6 figures. And it might require until you've got some cash flow coming in, so then you can create some systems and automation and hire some people so you don't have to do all the work. But then going from 6 figures to multi 6 figures and beyond is really about going deeper. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You need to maybe offer some higher end packages, or sell more of what you're currently selling, but you already know how to sell. You already know how to market. You've got a following by this stage. You don't need to work harder. You need to create systems. You need to build team, and you actually need to do less. And you then become the visionary. You become the person who has the vision, who is the creator, and who is kind of not even managing the team, because like I don't have it at the moment, but I had a manager who was managing my team for me, and I had to kind of manage her and I over everything. So when I first started stepping out of the business and realizing that everyone else was kind of doing more than me, I was more coming up with the ideas and putting things in place and managing it all. I felt guilty. And that's the hard thing for people who learn and want to go to multi-six. They find it hard to let go of. They find it hard to do less. They find it hard to stop working in the business and work on it more. And they can feel some guilt, like they're not working enough. But you could work, for an hour, and it could be way more important than just trying to get some stuff done for 10. The hours that you work, it's about the things that you're working on, really putting in place and foundations so you can have growth and then be able to step into bigger things like making things in the world, helping more people, doing things for charity, retreats, doing speaking, consulting, whatever that looks like. And start up to figures and
Oh. Oh, it's another. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we seem to be. Ooh, did a little bit. You seem to be losing connection. Oh, are you back?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right, I think we seem to be losing you a little bit there, but
Okay.
I think we do. I think we do need to get to the stage where it is a personal journey as well, isn't it? Like the things that you're carrying with you are going to stop you at some point, and I think unless you can deal with those things, make the load lighter, or get rid of it altogether, then we're always
Yeah,
going to struggle. We're always going to only go so high, you know. So
yeah.
yeah, is there any parting words that you want to give us? Is there anything that you want to leave us with? And then you can tell us all where to find out more about you, and then we'll finish.
Yeah, sure. Awesome. Yeah, so I guess whatever stage of the journey you're at, make sure you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people, people who are where you're at, and people who are further ahead of where you're at as well. And instead of comparing or pedestaling these people, look to them for inspiration and motivation and what's possible. And then make sure you hire a mentor when you invest in yourself, not just with money, but focus, time, and energy and effort, and then taking action. You're going to get to where you want to go so much faster. Um, know that everyone, no matter what stage they're at, has their good days and their bad days, and it's all part of the journey and it's part of the growth. So continue pushing yourself, take consistent action daily, no matter how big or small, and you're going to reach your goals. And just doing and going in that action, you can grow not just as a human. So if anyone wants to follow me, they can feel free to reach out. It's just Ellie Burscough on that's Instagram. And I also have a group on Facebook called Seven Figure Mindset for Entrepreneurs. So feel free to join there. And if you do send me a friend request, just shoot me a personal message and let me know where you've come from as well, so I know who you are.
All right, awesome. So for people that are tuning in, Ellie, do you have the ability to comment with the link maybe, so that even
Yeah,
after we've finished, if you were to comment with the link, people can sort of go a bit more directly, can't they?
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, we could
yeah,
definitely talk about this forever. Um, we can rattle off for hours, but I want to be respectful of your own time. So yeah, feel free to check out Ellie.
yeah.
Let her know you came from the show, and I'm sure she'll be able to help you with any other questions that you couldn't get to during the show. Thanks again, Ellie.
Awesome.
Thanks for being a guest,
Perfect.
and I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
All right, awesome. So we had Ellie on the show, sharing her own journey about how she got to the point where she's at, and I think that she had a lot of knowledge there. I think within like certain aspects that I don't want to say we brushed over it. We didn't, because we did pick up on certain key areas, but if you weren't massively paying attention, you may have sort of missed it a little bit. So make sure you watch the replay if you're hopping on before we finish. Um, Ellie was awesome. Really enjoyed having her on the show. So if she's watching, then thanks, Ellie. I appreciate it. Um, and yeah, I've enjoyed it. That was cool. Hopefully I'll speak to you again. Remember that the show is sponsored by Project Impact again, and I'll speak to you all soon. I enjoyed it. Take care, everyone.